Okay, so now we are outside. We have our snow here. This is our blanket, our insulation, and we have all these snowflakes here, and in between all the snowflakes, we have air. And air is a really good insulator. Why? Well, because you have particles, molecules in the air, and they're very far apart, and so they don't transfer heat very easily. But enough of me explaining, let me show you what I mean. So we've brought some equipment out here today. We have a metric ruler here, so it's 1 meter long, and I also have our hobo data logger here. I've attached it to the top here, so it starts down here 1 and it goes up all the way to 100 centimeters, and this is what we're going to use to measure our snow. So we have that here. I also have all of our sensor cables here, 1 through 4. I have my notebook. Notebook is very important, and so I've already written down the date, the time, and I've recorded our GPS location, which I used a handheld GPS. But if you don't have access to a handheld GPS, you can pull out your smartphone and use that. It's a handy tool. I use it often. And so I've written down all that information. So now what we're going to do is we're going to measure our snow first. And so remember, the bottom here starts at 0 and goes up to 100. And so I'm going to take it, I'm going to stick it right in the snow here until we hit the bottom. So, and you can look about here, it's about around 80 centimeters deep. So what we can do is we want our sensors to be somewhat evenly spaced, and we will have 3 sensors, and then one's going to be above, one's going to be our air temperature. And so the 3 of them have to be equally spaced. And so with 80, we can round up a little bit, and we can probably do about 30 centimeter spacing. So we can have one, this will be at the bottom of the snow, and so that's going to be 80. And we go up here, 70, 60, 50. We'll put one sensor here, 40, 30, 20. We'll have another sensor. And then above that, we'll have our air temperature sensor. So we can go ahead and find, I tend to do channel 4 as my deepest. And so that will be taped to the bottom. And so I have connected it here to our data logger, and I have a roll of electrical tape, the same tape that I use to tape this on. And I keep it in my pocket to keep it warm because it tends to get a little stiff and not want to stick so well when you're doing this in the cold. And you may have to undo some of the cable, so as you see fit, just get it to the bottom here. And so we'll just get that nice and tight there. And we'll take our tape. I need to take my gloves off. Okay. So take our tape here, get it nice and close to the bottom there, like so. And we'll just wrap it a few times, if the tape will stick. And it only takes a few wraps just to hold it in place. There we go. So that will be our bottom sensor, 80 centimeters. So what I want to do next is find the one that is marked with 3 tick marks. That one is channel 3. I can take this, plug it into channel 3 here, making sure that I don't pull out the other channels too. So you want to make sure that these are all taped together. Okay, so we've taped 4 on there. We'll take channel 3, and we said 30 centimeters from that. So we have 10, 20, 30. And so that will be our next depth, which will be 50 centimeters. And it's a good practice to tape all of these kind of together so they're not sticking out everywhere. So once I've got it on my mark, I can tape this over the sensor. It's not going to affect it. And I can tape the other sensor's cable just to keep it all together. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we got channel 4, channel 3. Let's find channel 2. Here it is. Okay, so we'll plug that channel in here. Okay. And that one is also 30 centimeters away. So we go 10, 20, 30 right there. Okay. Cables start to get a little stiff when it gets cold, so they get a little more difficult to work with. But we will persist. All right. So I'm going to tape the other cables down as well, just to keep everything together. That one's right where it needs to be. Go ahead and try not to wrap my glove in it. Okay. There we go. There. Okay, so we have sensor 4, sensor 3, sensor 2. And remember, our top is right here at 80. And so we're going to be above the snow here. And so we want to take our last sensor and we want to put that somewhere right above here. So let me take sensor 1, go ahead and plug it in. Okay. And I have our last sensor. And so I'm just going to tape it just above 80 just to make sure it's above the snow and measuring the air temperature and not the snow temperature. Okay. Come on, tape. There we go. Okay. It's sticking. All right. Okay. So now we have all 4 sensors attached. So here's our bottom. Next one up, 30 centimeters. Another 30 centimeters, and then this one is above. And you can see we're already measuring some temperatures here at various, temperatures. So right now it's mostly picking up air temperature, so we're not getting an accurate reading yet until we stick this in the snow. And before we do anything, I want to make sure that we mark the depths. So what we did here, I want to write that in the notebook. All right. So we have 80, and we go to 50, and 30, and then of course air. So always make a note of your depths. Okay. So now all we have to do is stick this in our snow right here. Okay, careful. There we go. Okay, so we still have our 80. I'm just gonna fill in the hole that I made here. There we go. Okay, yep. And so make sure that all these are plugged in. They kind of can get loose sometimes and you'll see some really crazy numbers. So if it says -200, then you probably need to reseat it, but these are all reading believable numbers. And it's gonna take a little time, maybe about 5 minutes, but we'll start to see these numbers start to change. And especially down below, it'll start to warm up. And so we can kind of check back on this in 5 minutes and we'll get a chance to see what kind of gradient we're looking at. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes and we're already starting to see a change here and a gradient start to form. And so remember, our channel 1 is our air temperature, which is right here. And channel 1 on the data logger is about here. And we have negative 20 degrees. So that's our air temperature. And then if we go to channel 2, we have 17 below. Channel 3 says 13 below. And at the bottom, 80 centimeters down, we have negative 8 degrees. So already we're seeing a good difference of about 12 degrees. And it'll continue to kind of change over time. And we'll leave it here for a few days. And we'll come back later and download the data off of the data logger and take a look and see what we have. But we'll just leave it here for now, and we'll just come back later.